For those of you who subscribed to my channel before I strived for innovation, you may remember a video I made when I was younger, dumber, and a fanboy of EFAP. Captain America: The Winter Soldier doesn't hold up. I rewatched the film and reevaluated the arguments in better faith, and now I think it does hold up. My buddy Skids over at League Entertainment is similarly making a response video to Winter Soldier criticism, but it'll be directed towards EFAP's criticisms, and I'll be working with him to refute those as well. And for this video, I can get away with unfiltered insults this time around, because the person I'm going to be debunking is me. I can do whatever the fuck I want. If you disagree with my disagreement with myself in the past, be sure to come on to Disagreement Day to discuss. But without further ado, SK of the year 2021, what is your disagreement and tell me why?
Now pay close attention to how these armed thugs approach Captain America. Cap knocks out the first thug who was caught off guard. This gets the attention of all the other thugs. The second thug has a gun on him but decides to run straight towards Cap rather than raising his weapon and firing and maintaining that distance. It's almost like he was asking to get taken down by Cap. As the third thug is witnessing the second thug get taken down, he decides to swing his gun at Cap to try hitting him in the face with it.
They're not under orders to kill Cap. They're under orders to capture him if he shows up. That's why he gets threatened to surrender when he actually gets caught. So when they swing their guns, they're trying to knock out Cap.
Two thugs make this exact same mistake, allowing Cap to take them out without getting shot at.
They're not trying to kill him.
Cap jumps down and does a little spin before throwing a shield, as that thug is literally staring and doing nothing when he had more than enough time to pull out his gun and shoot at Cap.
Again, they're not trying to kill him.
However, what doesn't make sense is that this thug literally just stands right in front of Cap and takes forever to shoot, instead of just shooting him right then and there, which allows Cap to get saved by Rumlow conveniently landing at the right place at the right time.
SK, they're not trying to kill him.
However, another armed thug reaches Black Widow and decides to close the distance with her, rather than keeping his distance and shooting at her.
Oh my fucking god, man. He's such an idiot. They're not trying to kill him, you fucking dunce.
Later on, Batroc is spotted by Cap and he tries to escape from Cap, allowing him to get a surprise attack on him. Now, keep in mind that at this point, Batroc is on a strict timetable and doesn't like to be kept waiting. At this point, Cap and the strike crew have taken out lots of his men, to the point they've lost contact with them and are in the process of extracting the hostages. For a guy on a strict timetable who doesn't like waiting, there is no time to waste. So what does he do? He uses his advantage of being able to deliver a sneak attack by trying to take on Cap in hand-to-hand combat, rather than either shooting him in the head by surprise or just using the grenade that he tried killing him with anyway.
Yeah, but he wants the competition. It doesn't matter if it's a risk. That's what they're telling you his character wants.
Cap, why are you suddenly treating the fight with Batroc as a competitive sport? No, take him out as quickly as possible. You have lives to save. This is a hostage situation. There's no time to play around here.
Batroc's on the move. Circle back to Rumlow and protect the hostages.
A few moments later.
Au revoir.
Okay, it's not flawless.
Did Hydra just forget to erase the files or store the files elsewhere, somewhere beyond S.H.I.E.L.D.'s reach? Why would you have these highly secretive, incriminating files within a hard drive on a S.H.I.E.L.D. ship?
They had their Hydra agents in charge of any work with the S.H.I.E.L.D. files and Zola's algorithm. They didn't expect someone like Nick Fury, who has inside knowledge as to how S.H.I.E.L.D. operates, to hire pirates to take over their ship and open an opportunity for Black Widow to steal that intel.
So Nick Fury notices that his access to S.H.I.E.L.D. protocols has been denied under his own name. He approaches Pierce once he suspects that S.H.I.E.L.D. is compromised.
Project Insight has to be delayed. Could be nothing, probably is nothing. Just need time to make sure it's nothing. But if it's something, then we'll both be damn glad this helicarrier is on in the air.
Hang on. You suspect that S.H.I.E.L.D. is compromised. Your first course of action is to go to Pierce about it? Why don't you start with Hill, Cap, Black Widow, or even fucking Iron Man on a secure line and leave it at that?
Because Fury does trust Pierce at this point. Pierce is pretending to be his friend.
No, that was the time I would have taken a bullet for you.
And Fury states he wasn't sure who to trust when explaining why he didn't tell Cap and Nat that he was faking his death. He started with Agent Hill because he needs at least one person to coordinate the secret hideout. He has more trust for Hill than he does for Stark. And while Stark probably would never join Hydra, Fury doesn't know that the compromise is Hydra. And Fury is shown to have severe trust issues.
At the very least, use the impersonation technology to conceal yourself in plain sight, so whoever is hijacking S.H.I.E.L.D. and is trying to find you won't be able able to.
Fury is using his own car to do this, which is the only car he has access to with as much protection as it has. Changing his face only makes it more obvious he's hiding something, so that plan is dumb.
The initial problem, as I see it, is why did they even allow Fury to get into this car if they were planning to kill him?
Since SK of 2021 was an EFAP fanboy, expect to see brief segments like this. First of all, just because they were planning to kill him doesn't mean they fully decided on how to kill him. Second of all, it'd be really suspicious if he was stopped at the SHIELD Triskelion instead of at some random street. It makes it seem like someone on the inside was responsible for Fury's death, which they don't want people to think.
Possibly the most public way to assassinate him, too.
The idea of getting 30 fake DC cops, is that not going to cause any problems at all for, like, Hydra? 30 DC police officers killed one of the major figures of a Defense Department of the United States government.
Okay, fake DC police officers try to kill Nick Fury. Now show me the next step where this actually ties Hydra into this. You literally cannot prove that Hydra or inside SHIELD agents were involved in this.
Sir, that's a negative! You're trying to prove a negative!
At most, people can extrapolate that terrorists stole police equipment and impersonated them to kill Nick Fury.
Initiate vertical takeoff!
Flight systems damaged.
Hold up. Vertical takeoff? You had this option this entire time? Why didn't you use this the moment the car started crashing into you?
So first of all, Fury needed to aid himself through an injection. He's already struggling to stay alert after the first hit, so he needs some kind of painkiller to stay in the game. Second of all, he tells the AI to get him out of there. The propulsion system is offline, so he needs to fix that first.
Also, at one point he gets shot at by a police officer who has a really flimsy aim.
Yeah, that tends to happen when you're hanging out of a speeding car, meaning you have to worry about keeping balance and hitting your target.
Fury makes a left turn and then runs into the Winter Soldier, who happens to be waiting right in front of him with his disc grenade. How did the Winter Soldier know Fury would take this exact turn on this exact street in this exact direction?
Okay, it's not flawless.
Also, gotta love the implication that the Winter Soldier was just standing there right in the middle of the road, armed and ready to kill as people in the background are just casually going about their business. This pretty much confirms the existence of the Winter Soldier and no longer makes him a ghost story. Is anyone pulling out their cameras? Is anyone calling the police or at least reporting on this after the fact? I thought the Winter Soldier assassinations were meant to be inconspicuous and remain covered up so nobody would know the true cause behind Bucky's killings.
Yes, generally speaking, that is the case. But as Hydra gets closer to Project Insight, they would get closer to world domination. So even if there are stories about who the Winter Soldier is, it doesn't matter, because knowing some random assassin out there won't tie Hydra to him, nor does this expose how S.H.I.E.L.D. is compromised or what Hydra's plan is. They only kept him hidden beforehand, so their changes in history seem natural rather than through foul play. But that stops mattering once you're about to take over the world. Why the fuck would Hydra care if Winter Soldier was discovered?
And to make matters worse, Bucky's disc grenade just needs to be fired once and a vehicle is done for. Why the hell did Hydra go through all this trouble and draw so much attention to them just to kill Nick Fury? They could have had the Winter Soldier fire the weapon by surprise whenever Fury comes to a stop, then blow him up there.
Okay, it's not flawless.
How the hell does this tiny-ass device cut a hole that big for him in so little time?
It probably took him a few seconds to aim the device so the hole is cut. I don't see how that's a reach.
Look how hot that thing is. It is fucking steaming. How has Fury not burned himself while cutting it, let alone entering through that tiny little hole?
He probably kept his distance when making the cut and didn't touch the hot sides on his way down.
Fury had this stupid lightsaber device this entire time. If the lightsaber device was this useful, then why the hell didn't Fury start with this when he was surrounded by all those cops? Why not use that from the get-go instead of using this easily traceable and noticeable car?
This is a last resort. He'd have to travel a tunnel on foot in order to get around if he did this at first.
The lightsaber Fury has is strong enough to cut through the car that is bulletproof. Is there any reason why these guys don't have lightsaber that they can use to...
Why would they use a device specific to S.H.I.E.L.D. out in public?
So Nick Fury managed to enter Cap's home undetected by the Winter Soldier, and for some reason Bucky has been sitting and doing nothing while Fury was just chilling at Cap's apartment, which allows Fury to inform Cap that S.H.I.E.L.D. is being compromised and allows him to give Cap the drive.
Letting this play out gives them more information because this place is bugged and they can hear them exchange information. When it's made clear that Fury is just going to be vague and give a fake story about his wife, they gave the go-ahead to shoot at Fury.
Fury says that ears are everywhere on the text box on his phone. He tells Cap everything he needs to know this way, but the fact that Fury and Cap are even talking should be enough of a red flag for Hydra to go after him at Cap's house.
Yes, but what information Steve has is not as concrete, which requires Hydra to speculate, and they can't act as easily on this.
This potentially makes Cap a target too, which makes this plan even worse. Fury ordered Sharon Carter to protect Cap by Fury's order, so why not give her the drive to give to Cap?
It's better to give Cap the drive personally, because it confirms Fury's involvement. Cap wouldn't trust Sharon alone delivering the drive, because he doesn't even know she's a SHIELD agent, so he can't confirm that Fury is actually involved in this plan. And if he doesn't even know that Fury is involved, he could end up sharing the fact he was given the drive if questioned.
If you could contact Sharon to protect Cap, then you could contact Iron Man, Black Widow, or Cap as well on a secure line in order to give them the information that they need.
And what happens if Cap's communications, Tony's communications, or Nat's communications are being monitored? Even then, S.H.I.E.L.D. has literally shown that they're capable of disabling Tony's communications in Iron Man 2.
We've disabled all communications, no contact with the outside world.
So it's entirely possible that they did the same to prevent Fury from contacting anyone.
And after Bucky shoots at Fury, he just stands there and does nothing until Cap notices him.
Okay, it's not flawless.
Cap throws his shield at Bucky and he catches it. Pretty generous of the Winter Soldier to give Captain America's most useful weapon back to him, rather than just taking this effective weapon with him.
He wanted to throw off Cap to make his escape easier.
Once Nat leaves, Cap decides to place the drive Fury gave him into the vending machine. Are you fucking serious, Cap? Firstly, this is banking on the chance that everyone in this semi-crowded hallway doesn't notice him sticking the drive in there. Secondly, this is banking on the chance that nobody sees the clearly visible drive when approaching the vending machine. Thirdly, this is banking on the chance that not enough people buy gum and one person doesn't eventually get the drive. There are so many ways this plan falls apart, yet Cap doesn't consider any of these.
Okay, it's not flawless.
So Cap is ordered by Rumlow to come back to S.H.I.E.L.D. for questioning. You know, the organization that is currently being compromised and is tied to Fury getting shot once he opened his mouth about it. Are you going to take Fury's advice not to trust anyone into account, or just neglect that and enter the Triskelion, a place that S.H.I.E.L.D. could easily lure Cap into a trap?
Cap is being hunted anyway if he decides to leave, so he wants to play it off like they're cool and he doesn't suspect anything to avoid that outcome.
Cap tells Robert Redford, Fury told me not to trust anyone. Stupid.
It's probably the worst thing you could tell him.
Defeats the whole purpose of being told not to trust anybody, to tell somebody that.
But that literally is what Fury told him, and the place is bugged. Sure, there's a risk that Hydra will think Cap is acting on Fury's orders not to trust them, but it's a bigger risk if he's caught lying about if Fury said anything about why he was there.
A bunch of men in a crowded area trying to take down one super soldier is a really bad idea.
They're trying to get evidence of Cap attacking their staff, so they can take that out of context to justify the manhunt against him.
A couple men are attempting to restrain one of Cap's arms while the rest are literally standing and doing nothing, rather than hitting Cap to make it more difficult for him to resist. Hit him, hit him, hit him, hit him.
They're busy helping one of their own guys recover and prepare for another attack. That's what we see in the background.
Once the strike team aims their guns at Cap, Cap quickly cuts the cable and the elevator drops down numerous floors within seconds. Then, Cap tries to open the elevator doors. Without knowing which floor Cap ended up on and having no way of getting down there so quickly, the armed strike team somehow got to whichever floor Cap was on when Cap was opening the doors.
Okay, it's not flawless.
Cap jumps out of the elevator and lands into the lobby. When Cap is running to the garage on the security camera, a Hydra agent immediately says to lock down the bridge.
Are you kidding me? He's headed for the garage. Lock down the bridge.
Somehow, Cap managed to reach the garage, get on his motorcycle, and drive to the bridge before it was even locked down, even though that would have taken not even a second to initiate.
Okay, it's not flawless.
Luckily for Cap, absolutely none of them hit him or even damaged the motorcycle on the way.
They don't want to kill Cap, they want to capture him.
It's also lucky for Cap that they didn't send another Quinjet after him once the first one's turbine went down.
The scene cuts away after Cap runs away. They could have already been sending a Quinjet, but Cap jumped in the water to swim away.
An Apple computer at the fucking Apple store was used to decrypt these highly encrypted Hydra files, and that's how they found out where the drive came from.
The program they use is on the drive, not on any of the default applications on the Apple computer.
The drive has a level 6 homing program.
They will know what these programs do. Why would they not design whatever their super secret stuff is with a block. It like can't be tracked by this stuff.
How do you know they can do that? If S.H.I.E.L.D.'s program to track hostile malware is so advanced, how exactly would you make these Hydra files on the drive exempt from that? The only way to do that would be to not lose the intel, but that's what happened at the start of the film.
Honestly, I think the most reasonable interpretation is they actually want them to track this to take them to the trap.
No, they don't. They weren't counting on Cap using the drive at all, which is why they were trying to capture him earlier. That means that they would know that they'd have to leave from the mall to go all the way to that bunker.
Yes.
Right? So they would know which...
They would know what roads they're taking. They should be able to track them.
And they would know that they're going to be there.
Yeah.
They didn't know what information they got from the drive, so they wouldn't know ahead of time where they were going.
If S.H.I.E.L.D. has been taken over by Hydra, this confirms that since the end of Captain America the First Avenger, which was 1945, Hydra had access to the Tesseract. Why haven't they taken advantage of it this entire time when it was within their access?
They did in Avengers 2012. They were going to create weapons with it. They just needed to wait for the appropriate justification, which was the fact that aliens existed. And they couldn't just use their old designs from the First Avenger. This would risk the chances of Hydra being suspected within S.H.I.E.L.D.
Zola is really fucking stupid. Why are you revealing Hydra's dirty secrets right in front of Captain America and Black Widow? Sure, maybe this will stall them and they won't survive, but that does not account for the fact that Black Widow and Captain America could be recording this and have the chance to send it at the last minute.
SK, does it look like these people are recording anything? Show me the cameras.
They could be streaming this to other people, they could be on a call with somebody like Tony Stark or Bruce Banner.
Don't you think they'd monitor Tony and Bruce's communications alongside any of their other known connections?
What we did not realize was that if you try to take that freedom, they resist.
Do I even need to explain how moronic of a line this is?
This is only obviously stupid to us in modern day because of how accustomed the world has become to holding on to freedom. People have willingly given up their freedom throughout history in favor of the security of their civilization, so Hydra's perception of humanity comes from that.
Also, the Winter Soldier's existence serves to assassinate anybody that could be threats to Hydra. Okay. So starting in 2008, we have Iron Man. He does an open press conference at the end of the film and S.H.I.E.L.D. knows that Tony Stark is Iron Man. Man, Tony would have been fucked if they had the Winter Soldier ready to snipe him behind that glass window. Surely that would have been a good opportunity to get rid of a potential threat to Hydra, right?
Except Iron Man 2 showed us that they wanted his suits for their own gain. Tony could be of great use to him if they kept him alive under the agreement to share his technology.
What about when both Tony and Rhodey were open targets at the end of Iron Man 2?
Again, if they potentially wanted Tony to share his technology with them, it's better to keep him alive. Also, he doesn't know anything about Hydra.
What about whenever the fuck Black Widow would sleep in her apartment?
Why is this urgent? She knows nothing about Hydra, and they're wiping out people en masse anyway by the end of all this.
Once Cap and Nat discover what happened, they find out that Hydra sent a missile after them. Now keep in mind that there are stories below the ground right now. Stories of rubble falling onto them would not only injure them from the impact, but they should have no space to move and should fucking suffocate.
We don't see the exact formation of the rubble, so we can't definitively state they'd be trapped forever. It's entirely possible that Cap resisted against stacks of rubble continuously, so that they'd fall over to the side and become lighter and lighter, and therefore easier to break through.
And conveniently enough, they're not spotted by any of the Hydra agents by the time they begin to leave, despite being surrounded by so many Quinjets.
It's dark outside and they didn't arrive at the same time the missile was sent to blow them up. It's a little lucky, but not impossible.
As Pierce is ordering Bucky to kill Nat and Cap within 10 hours, he states that both of them cost him Zola.
The timetable is moved. Our window is limited. 2 targets, level 6. They already cost me Zola.
They cost you Zola? Pierce, you guys literally sent a missile strike after Cap and Nat when they were right in front of Zola. This was your fault.
You caused it. You did it. You got no one else. You fucking did it.
Sure.
Fucking moron Winter Soldier is to just randomly turn up to the S.H.I.E.L.D. like Lord's house in the middle of the night when his mate is there. Fucking, what are you doing, you idiot?
Okay, it's not flawless.
Now, it's logical that Sam's house would be the first place Steve would go to because Sam is the closest trusted individual that he could turn to. However, he doesn't even try to contact Tony, Rhodey, Banner, or Clint?
Those are known associates of Cap and Nat. What's their plan if Hydra is monitoring their communications? What happens if Hydra kills them after picking up the phone? What happens if Hydra traces the call?
Also, wouldn't there have been reports of Nick Fury dying and Captain America being arrested after a major shootout at the highway?
What exactly would the Avengers do with those reports? They can't directly contact Cap and Nat if they're in hiding. They can't tie the fake DC police officers to S.H.I.E.L.D. or Hydra. There's no public information they can work with. And they don't even know who to target because Hydra hasn't been exposed until the third act.
I know we like to pretend this film doesn't exist, but Thor the Dark World establishes that Thor is back on Earth and not on Asgard.
He could have left afterwards, but before Winter Soldier.
And what was Hydra's plan if they did show up?
Then they would unleash Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, and utilize the alien tech weapons we see in Age of Ultron, which we know can do damage to the Hulk. Now I'm aware this doesn't happen in the film, but that's because Hydra had to rush Project Insight at the end because Cap and his friends escalated the situation.
The timetable is moved. Our window is limited.
They didn't expect Fury to find any dirt on them and send pirates after them so that Nat could download their stuff onto a drive. They didn't expect Fury to catch on to S.H.I.E.L.D.'s compromise this early. And they didn't expect Cap and Nat to learn of their plan and make it out alive. And while they were planning to launch the helicarriers in the coming days, that doesn't mean they were gonna go nuclear and start shooting down all of their targets. So not only were they forced to rush the launch of the helicarriers, but Cap exposing Hydra in his speech forced their hand to actually shoot their targets the moment they reached 3,000 feet.
It's so funny. In the film, they're like, we need to get past like 3 gated doors with loads of guards. It's like, no problem. It's like, no problem. Like, this is the problem. They've got like barely any resources, and they can't trust anyone, but they can just go get that. It's like, okay.
I don't know why this is straight up impossible. Cap and Nat are experienced in infiltrating highly secure places. They're known to disguise themselves if needed to hide in plain sight, and they could knock out guards who have clearance and take any keys they need to access resources.
Another issue is how this piece of tech existing within the government's possession as it's sitting and collecting dust contradicts the world building in Iron Man 2. The government, who we know to be Hydra influenced, wants to get their hands on Iron Man suits and obviously wants to get a hold of technology of that caliber. So many people are seen trying to recreate it throughout the world.
Intelligence suggests that the devices seen in these photos are in fact attempts at making manned copies of Mr. Stark's suit.
I believe that's North Korea. Iran. How did Hammer get in the game?
What the hell are Falcon's wings doing collecting dust while in the government's possession? Investing in Falcon's flight tech is the closest they could get to rivaling Stark's flight tech, but they've ignored it this entire time, because reasons.
These suits can't exist anywhere else, don't exist anywhere else, never will exist anywhere else, at least for 5 to 10 years, and here we are in Monaco realizing, uh-oh, these suits exist now.
Yeah, I can't defend that. Kinda messes with the world building that these wings even exist. I'd expect a lot more military guys with that technology.
Firstly, remember the issue with the disc bomb that I addressed earlier? Well, same problem here. Why doesn't Bucky use that device to blow up the car that Cap and the others were in?
Goodbye.
Bucky lands onto the car and rips the steering wheel out, then flees once Black Widow pulls out a gun and starts firing. But earlier we saw that Bucky was very much capable of shooting them from the top of the car. Why not shoot the driver immediately? Why not shoot both Cap and Nat while they're in there, rather than using the slower method of ripping the steering wheel out and pushing them aside with the other car?
There are gonna be moments like this that I straight up cannot defend. This movie does have a fairly significant issue with plot armor.
Falcon's bare skin is rolling across the concrete ground. How the fuck are his arms okay after this?
Alright dude, that's just nitpicking the fact that his arms weren't as scratched by the concrete. It's still possible for him to use them in combat afterwards.
Now notice where Black Widow is after Cap is shot. She's right in front of this van to the right now. Despite having 3 men firing their guns right afterwards, she somehow manages to run to the other side of the van while they're shooting at her, and Bucky for some reason is just walking towards her without firing any weapons. He could have shot the car with the grenade launcher much earlier, but decided not to, I guess. Shooter, 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 shooter. You even have a frame where Bucky begins to aim, but the next shot he just stops aiming for some reason.
Okay, it's not flawless.
And after he takes a sweet time to shoot the grenade, Black Widow dodges, then somehow isn't hit by any of the bullets as she's running away from them.
Okay, it's not flawless.
Also, Bucky has several men surrounding him as he is aiming for Cap on the bus. After the first shot from Nat, the other armed men should have noticed her by then. None of them obviously bothered to check on Bucky, so I'm left questioning what the hell they were doing while Black Widow put down her guns and ran behind a truck for cover.
They could have gone for cover as a first instinct just to be safe.
After she takes cover and fires some shots, she runs away and Bucky decides to go after her. But we're shown earlier that Bucky noticed Cap's shield and deduced that he was inside the bus. After he jumped off the bridge and landed on the car, he was literally right by the bus. He could either shoot directly at it like he planned earlier, or go inside the bus and shoot Cap in there, which would be especially easy when Cap is currently too injured to leave the bus and go for his shield.
Isn't that just more reason for Bucky to go after Nat and leave Cap to his several armed goons?
Once Cap leaves the bus, he crashes out from the back window and we see 3 armed thugs with their guns trained on him. Cap first had to land, roll to his shield, then pick up the shield to block their bullets. I can assure you that pulling the trigger would take significantly shorter to do than all of that.
They didn't know where Cap would leave from. It's not like they expected him to escape from that exact area of the bus. And super soldiers can react to bullets, so Cap would have been able to block them wherever they decided to shoot.
For some reason, these thugs continuously shoot Cap on the shield rather than aiming for his legs, which would make him collapse and expose himself to getting shot to death. Especially this minigunner right here. Would it hurt you to just aim fucking lower?
Okay, it's not flawless.
So Black Widow has this cool plan to trick the Winter Soldier into thinking she's behind a car when it turns out to be a recording she left. Her approach, however, is pretty dumb. Why not start with the taser device you have? Would have made disarming Bucky much easier.
That was a last resort. She didn't even know it would work that well.
Also, once Bucky picks up the weapon again, he has his gun pointed at her while she is on the ground and about to toss the taser. Now keep in mind that his gun is aimed at Nat while the taser is simply in her hand. What's gonna take longer, pulling the trigger or for Nat to throw the taser? The answer should be pretty obvious.
Just because the shot of Nat picking up the taser comes after the shot of Bucky aiming it, doesn't mean it literally happened afterwards. These 2 shots could have happened at the same time, but were shown back to back to show different perspectives.
He throws the shield at the van and for some reason, Cap can't go after the shield when he has enough time to reach it. You know, like what he does later on in the fight.
He's closer to the shield and does this when Bucky is knocked to the ground.
Also, Bucky still has a working gun on him. We're shown this by the end of the action sequence. Instead of using that, he decides to pull out a knife, even though pulling out a gun would have taken down Cap before he'd even get close to him.
Okay, it's not flawless.
Eventually, Cap unmasks Bucky and Bucky dramatically stands in front of Cap and does absolutely nothing, despite having full intent to kill him and not giving a shit about what his reaction would be or what he'd say. He just stops fighting without reason instead of just killing Cap right there.
Okay, it's not flawless.
Soon after, the strike team surrounds Cap and the others with guns. About fucking time, you dipshits.
They arrived later so they could play it off as hearing reports of the battle going on and being the heroes who stopped it. If they showed up while Cap was in a speeding car on the highway, attacking them can result in civilian casualties and make it seem like the strike team is at fault. But they can avoid that blame by playing it off like some terrorists attacked them, which forced their hand to get involved and take them all down. And they're literally 16 hours away from launching Project Insight, so the Winter Soldier operating out in public shouldn't matter by this point. They don't really have a reason to care.
Not here. Not here.
I guess they don't want their assassinations to be public, right? What the fuck was that stunt with Nick Fury? What the fuck was this entire action sequence where the Winter Soldier and his thugs were exposed for the public eye to see?
There's a difference between unnamed assassins making these kills and the renowned strike team making these kills.
No, they put him in the last truck of the convoy, and they don't kill him while they're in the truck.
They're bringing the team somewhere else to make their killings clean and organized, without any traces of evidence leading back to them. Killing them in the truck gets blood everywhere, something you don't really want to deal with if you want to bring them somewhere else to kill them. If they're captured, there's no hurry.
Wouldn't luck have it, Maria Hill is on this truck.
Wouldn't luck have it so that the person who wants to save Cap chose to go on the same truck he's on.
Imagine Rumlow was just like, nah, I'll go with them, with my guys. You can go on a different one, random person I don't know.
It's almost as if Rumlow thinks Hill is one of his goons.
They apparently plan to dig their graves at like this random site they had done that.
Which makes sense if they want their killings to be done in a clean manner that doesn't get blood on their vehicle. They need to get rid of the bodies anyway, so it makes sense to kill them at wherever that site would be.
And they approach the back truck with their guns drawn as if something has already gone wrong.
Or it's to maintain leverage over the prisoners so they comply with their orders.
I thought you were going to highlight it is an incredibly fucking bizarre place to dig graves. They're like...
Yeah, because I was gonna say, wait, so if that's what that line meant, then that's a really stupid place.
Yeah, look at it. It's like, why would you dig graves here?
You don't know the full location. We don't see the entire area they stopped at. There could have been an area nearby that's convenient for digging graves or disposing of bodies.
Did they escape once the trucks had stopped or while they were moving?
Probably at a red light.
If it's while they were moving, that's gonna kill them, probably. And if not that, it'll separate the fuck out of them, and the driver should probably notice.
See him in the rearview mirror.
Something shitty, but if it's while they were stopped, they had seconds to get through that hole before they would have been found.
Have you ever seen those traffic signals that display the amount of time you have to walk across the street? They easily could have seen one of those at a red light and concluded that they had 29 seconds to act. I can assure you that 29 seconds is more than enough time to carve a hole, then send 4 people down.
Oh yeah, they revealed that Fury faked his death this entire time. Firstly, you're a lucky man for surviving all those shots. Secondly, did he plan to fake his death? Because the doctors that took him to the emergency room wouldn't have been in on this. They definitely didn't slow the pulse 1 beat per minute. They definitely weren't in on his plan. How did Fury get transported to this base without anybody realizing that his body went missing or that he's actually still alive?
Hill could have sent trusted medics ahead of time. We see that Joe Russo is one of them, and we also see him at the secret hideout later in the film. So during the procedure itself, he could have suggested the plan to fake his death.
Especially with Hydra doctors, like, because Hydra would want to confirm the kill, so why would they have allowed any sense of it being and they would be aware of Banner's formula, or Banner, whatever this he uses. Because again, they didn't know up until like a couple of days ago that they couldn't trust everybody at S.H.I.E.L.D. So everything Fury has access to, technology and medicine and formula and everything wise, like they know it too. The idea that they didn't confirm that he was dead, or that they just saw that the heartbeat was low and they were like, well, he's dead. Especially how advanced the tech is now. It's just like, man.
Hill could have rushed to have these medics in charge. Hydra can't just forcibly switch medics while they're already treating Fury. And this isn't a S.H.I.E.L.D. hospital. This is a nearby hospital. Hill would have known about this as soon as it happened. Sharon would have first alerted trusted individuals since she was working with Fury. And Bruce Banner's heart rate decreasing thing isn't common knowledge in S.H.I.E.L.D. Nat didn't even know about it.
You had this underground base this entire time? Is that what Agent Hill was setting up? Why didn't you contact Hill on a secure line through either Cap or Sharon's communications once he is ready to meet in deep shadowed conditions?
He might have done that after giving Cap the drive, but he didn't have the chance.
In Avengers 2012, it's been established that S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarriers have retro-reflection panels. From this movie, we know that these new helicarriers are meant to be more advanced. So, it's fair to assume that these new helicarriers would have this ability. So why didn't Hydra cloak the helicarriers when launching them in the air? Especially with the knowledge that Falcon, Black Widow, and Captain America have all escaped from them and they are likely planning to stop the launch.
Avengers 2012 shows that if you're close enough, you can spot these helicarriers anyway, and they don't even activate them until they're high in the air.
Falcon faces no repercussions for stealing the wings when he is publicly known to have been using them by the end of this film.
But he did it to save millions of lives and they would understand that.
Which, by the way, couldn't you just have Cap, Fury, Hill, Falcon, and Nat disguise themselves as the Council? They could have eliminated Pierce and the strike team like Black Widow does anyway, then use that advantage to pretend to be Pierce, then have the fake Pierce delay the launch. With this delay, use that opportunity to have someone disguise themselves as an Insight crew member, then secretly replace the targeting ship so they wouldn't have to deal with all those men and cannons on the helicarrier when trying to infiltrate it.
They would not believe Pierce would want to delay the launch because he wanted to rush it to begin with because of Cap's interference. And we don't know how many of those impersonation masks they have on hand. They could have had only one.
That's much more effective than Cap revealing himself by giving a speech and hoping they'd listen to him instead of, you know, cutting off his communications via the PA system.
Cap announces himself so the people in the building have a chance to evacuate, or even fight with him if they're willing to. And they already took out the guys in charge of the sound systems.
So anyways, we see that Nat used the impersonation tech to disguise herself as the councilwoman, but we know that Pierce has this device that burns through the sternum of whoever has this pin on. But for some reason, he doesn't make the attempt to grab his phone and kill Black Widow when the phone is right on the table next to him. Kill her. 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 Kill her.
Okay, it's not flawless.
Also, pay attention to how these guards try to kill her. The guy from Batman v Superman closes the distance with Black Widow for some reason, while Black Widow hit Pierce and tossed a taser at another thug, which should be enough time for him to raise his weapon and start pulling the trigger.
He barely had time to react, and it's not like he got close enough to be in hand-to-hand combat range. He was hit because a gun was tossed in his face.
Once Black Widow takes down a thug, we cut to a thug who is close enough to have his gun arm locked in place by Black Widow. Again, why do you people keep moving up close with your guns instead of maintaining the distance and pulling the trigger?
The guy was in the process of getting up and only had a second to react to Nat turning to him.
Cap is running and takes out this one thug, and there it is again. Another thug with a gun just running straight towards Captain America. Does this happen again? Oh my, it does. And it happens right afterwards. Oh, there it is again. And again. And again.
There's smoke all over the area, making it harder to see and therefore harder to aim. And they weren't expecting Cap to be in this exact same area at the exact same time, so they were caught off guard. And there are many of their guys there, so misfiring could result in shooting the wrong guy. So they want to get closer to Cap so there's less of a chance of misfiring. This can possibly create an opening for the other guys to shoot at Cap as well, if Cap retaliates in a way that exposes part of his body.
So after that, Black Widow goes through all of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Hydra's secrets from bypassing S.H.I.E.L.D. security protocols.
She's disabling security protocols and dumping all the secrets onto the internet.
Including Hydra's.
And S.H.I.E.L.D.'s.
Hang on a second. Where have I seen this before?
Once my decryption program finishes breaking into all of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s secure files, in a few hours I'll know every dirty secret S.H.I.E.L.D. has ever tried to hide. Blueberry?
What is Phase 2? Phase 2 is S.H.I.E.L.D. uses the cube to make weapons.
We gathered everything related to the Tesseract. This does not mean that
sorry, Nick. What were you lying?
So wait a minute. When Tony Stark does the exact thing Black Widow is doing right now, he never comes across any of the secrets regarding S.H.I.E.L.D. being taken over by Hydra when he literally decrypted all of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s secure files, which would discover every dirty secret they've tried to hide. And Hydra still hasn't tried to get rid of Tony Stark as soon as possible ever since he had the potential to uncover and expose all of their secrets?
The files Tony extracted are from S.H.I.E.L.D.'s helicarrier, and those computers need to obtain data from somewhere, so Fury could have brought specific hard drives onto the helicarrier that pertain to the conflict regarding Loki and the Tesseract, along with essential files they use on a regular basis. This does not require Hydra to implement their secret files as well, and the only place we see these files accessible is the Triskelion. Could there be more places where the Hydra files are accessible? Absolutely.
Okay, Jarvis. You know, I want it all.
But the S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier specifically focused on the conflict regarding Loki doesn't need to have any of the Hydra files present for Hydra to do what they want to do, and it makes sense that these big secrets would be within a hard drive that Pierce can access from his own office.
Okay, we have two armed men pointing their guns at Bucky. Good thing that arm of Bucky literally blocked all of these shots.
Bucky is shown to react to bullets in this movie. Super soldiers have enhanced reaction speed, so it stands to reason that Bucky could react to those bullets by using his arm to block them.
Good thing the second guy was pointing his gun this whole time, only to not even bother shooting at Bucky.
He's afraid of possibly shooting the other guy, and Bucky retaliated far too quickly for him to react.
We'll all agree, alpha level access, that's going to be limited to a very select few. And I'm glad that it's only Fury and Pierce. These are very high ranking members. Now, if you think of the pool of alpha level access as possibly like 20 registered, one of them is going to be Wonky Eye. You're like, what the fuck is this? And it's like, this is someone who has access to this apparently. And it's like, knock it off the system. Who is that? And it's like, registered to... It has to be... It can't just be Wonky Eye. It has to be registered to something.
Like, yeah, and it would have to be registered to Fury.
Like, or unless he calls it like, you know, Rumsfeld, and it's just like, who the fuck is Rumsfeld?
Remember, I think the computer said, hey, Nicholas J. Fury. I think the computer says Nicholas J. Fury.
Yes, the computer says Nicholas J. Fury when he's trying to use his main account at the beginning of the film. Backup accounts can be made, which makes sense for both Fury and Pierce to utilize in the event one of theirs gets compromised. Backup accounts can have usernames registered either as variations of their legal names or as random names that grant alpha level access. Regardless of what it is, Fury can create an illusion that hides his clearance through his secret eye. If Fury creates numerous accounts with usernames that are either variations of his name or designated alternate names that Pierce would know were made by Fury, then Pierce would immediately think to wipe those specific accounts from the system. However, all Fury needs to do to slip through the cracks is to withhold information regarding one of his backup accounts, which can have similar naming to one of Pierce's backup accounts, which can also consist of variations of Pierce's name or a designated set of fake names he chooses. So if Fury secretly creates a backup account that's subtle enough to look like one of Pierce's backup accounts on the surface, that means it's possible for Pierce to overlook the account if he were to ever remove Fury's clearance. He would go for the obvious ones that belong to Fury, which Fury would make obvious as a means of throwing people off from the singular account that he has hidden in plain sight.
After only sending 2 armed men after Hill, they just stopped sending men in to pursue her. If they had sent more men after her in larger groups, she would be toast.
You don't know that they didn't send more men after Hill. We don't see her for the entire fight, and even if they did stop at some point, that's because she'll just keep killing them and that's a waste of resources. She's one of the targets for Project Insight anyway, so they can bank on that if sending men to kill her is wasting resources.
But the Quinjet should have kept following him after he left the helicarrier and started shooting at him. If he was being shot at and chased by the helicarrier, he could not effectively catch Steve from falling. So essentially, this problem affects Steve's survival in this entire climax.
But Falcon is off screen for some time after he leaves the helicarrier. For all we know, he did get followed, but he managed to take down the Quinjet during that time.
Falcon reached the targeting chips with nobody there guarding them. You guys knew they were coming.
There are guards outside of the entrances that Cap or Falcon would need to reach in order to access the targeting chips. Plus, an area with narrow walkways increases the risk of falling off and there's less space to maneuver.
Why the fuck is this part of the helicarrier made of highly vulnerable glass? What the fuck kind of design is this? Good thing Hydra was this fucking stupid, otherwise Falcon wouldn't have gotten in there.
Okay, it's not flawless.
Once Sam saves Steve, they arrive back on the helicarrier. We know that Bucky has been keeping cover waiting to sneak up on them. He decides to push Cap off the helicarrier and relies on his ability to take on Falcon, who is also armed and could potentially kill him. Here's a better idea. Let Sam and Cap continue to walk, then shoot both of them from behind and you'd be able to assassinate them before they could even see you.
Okay, it's not flawless.
The dude from The Dark Knight has been keeping an eye on Pierce this entire time with his gun pointed at him. How the fuck could Pierce have pulled out his phone without being forced into putting it down immediately? He was even looking at Pierce when he decided to pick up his phone. Shoot him!
Okay, it's not flawless.
We cut back to Cap and Bucky fighting, where Bucky tosses Cap's shield back to him. That's probably not the best idea if you're trying to kill him. Bucky, you do realize that a Captain America without a shield should be really easy for you to kill, right? Especially with a gun? I mean, it's not like there's one lying on the floor nearby for you to... Nice going, Bucky. You gave Cap his only means of protecting himself.
Yeah, we get it. The movie has plot armor.
Hey Cap, maybe don't continuously throw away your only means of protecting yourself from a master assassin easily capable of deflecting your shield, then landing devastating hits on you.
Okay, it's not flawless.
Bucky does the thing where he forgets that he has a gun while Cap doesn't have a shield and decides to use a knife instead of a gun.
Sharif93 says Captain America Winter Soldier was better than Spider-Man 2. What the fuck are you smoking? Captain America Winter Soldier is the most overrated fucking movie there is. What made that movie so good? I don't understand. Like, what was so good? Because what, Bucky was his friend or some shit? You guys are goofy as fuck, bro. Captain America the Winter Soldier, the stupidest shit ever.
Bucky eventually gets a hold of Cap's targeting chip and knows that he needs it in order to stop them. Crush it. Crush it. Crush it.
We don't know how durable the targeting chip is. It could be heavily reinforced and too dense for Bucky to break in an instant.
Pay attention to how Bucky tries to go after the chip. He's standing just fine in the shot. He can walk towards the chip and either stomp on it or pick it up to crush it. How does Bucky maneuver himself instead? Are you seeing this shit? Bucky just crawled to the chip and put himself in a position where he's easier to attack and pin down. Are you fucking serious? Bucky, you are not a fucking toddler. You are a grown-ass man who knows how to fucking walk. You are the Winter fucking Soldier. How do you mess up like this?
Okay, it's not flawless.
Look at the angle that these machines are all set at. How the hell are they going to hit targets that are far out of state or out of the country or on the other side of the world at this angle and at this location? How are they going to account for stuff like gravity, wind resistance, weather, or the simple fact that there could be buildings or other objects in front of the targets that would block the trajectory of these bullets? Aren't these helicarriers supposed to neutralize threats before they even happen? Are your cannons just going to shoot through the earth to reach China?
They can still fly these helicarriers over to other countries if they needed to, and they didn't say they would neutralize every threat before it happens. They said they would neutralize a lot of threats before they happen.
We're gonna neutralize a lot of threats before they even happen.
So let's take a look at how many people are in the Triskelion. A lot, right? Well, guess who's in the Triskelion? Pierce is going to kill himself and tons of Hydra agents by the nature of this design if they're going to use stuff like railguns to hit targets from such a far distance.
Okay, this wasn't the original plan. If Pierce had the chance to leave, he would have.
And at some point, this will attract the Avengers. Tony Stark is in New York, and come on, there's no way the cannons will hit Tony at that trajectory, and there is no way he wouldn't know about the attacks by the time they'd even reach New York. Bruce Banner cannot die. He lays this out to Fury in Avengers 2012.
It's just in case you needed to kill me, but you can't. I know, I tried. I didn't see an end, so I put a bullet in my mouth, and the other guy spit it out.
If Thor ever shows up to Earth, Hydra's plan is fucked. Once other countries learn of these helicarriers literally murdering hundreds of thousands of Americans, they will send missiles and potentially nukes after these helicarriers before they could even leave America and attack them. You guys aren't getting away with this in the long run.
Like I said, Hydra had to rush their plan because Cap interfered. If it went according to plan, they would have had a speedster and a magic user ready. Wanda can repeatedly throw off Thor and Hulk if they attack them, and this is based on experiments with the Mind Stone, which they still have access to. They could potentially create more superhumans with this, and if Fury didn't pick up on anything and put Cap into the motion of stopping their plans, they would have had more superhumans at their disposal. And setting other superhumans aside, Hydra basically has mass amounts of people held hostage. Would someone like Thor think it's a good idea to even try smashing the helicarriers in that circumstance? This is massive leverage that you can't just act on easily. They only rush to killing people at the end because Cap is actively trying to stop them, and any missiles that other countries fire can be shot down. We have countermeasures for this in real life, and this is the MCU, where they have more advanced firepower, and these helicarriers can go invisible, which makes it harder for them to target with missiles.
He decides to get his suit from, I assume, the Smithsonian, instead of heading to Project Insight that is set to kill 700,000 people. Every second counts, and he fucks off to get his suit.
Cap literally explains himself in the film.
You're gonna fight a war, you gotta wear a uniform.
This makes it easy for Falcon to identify him from a distance, and a suit offers more protection than street clothes.
From what we understand, he has decided on his own. By the way, the theme, I've seen people celebrate Winter Soldier for its approach of the theme of security versus freedom, and I think that's laughable. They do nothing with it. They're literally like, hey, you know what's better than freedom? Having a gun to everybody on Earth so we can kill them before they even commit the crime. They literally do fucking Minority Report, and it's like, they brush that off real quick. Cap's like, no, I don't like that. I think that's bad. And no one should have the power to just have a whole handgun to the world. And it's like, Cap, we have more than enough of arms of this already. I don't know where you've been.
So because the US government already has access to weapons of mass destruction, Cap should just be okay with a new and more advanced program that can kill anyone on Earth with an order? And Cap doesn't just mention that these weapons exist, he also says this.
That the punishment usually came after the crime.
We can't afford to wait that long.
But also, these things are the very things we need to fight off stuff like Loki. Like, without superheroes, this is humanity's best option. None of this is discussed. He just throws it out. He's like, nah, bad idea. He's like, okay, that's nuance.
Fury literally brings up that the Battle of New York in 2012 motivated Project Insight.
After New York, I convinced the World Security Council we needed a quantum surge in threat analysis.
This is discussed in the movie. Cap's problem is that they're willing to issue punishment before the crime, and he brings this up after Fury states that they're planning to neutralize threats before they happen.
And by the end of the film, they basically say, yeah, freedom's better than security, we're done. It's like, what? No, you didn't answer, you didn't explore any of this.
False. This is talked about several times in the film, and the case is eventually made to Fury when Cap brings up how many paid the price before Fury realized that S.H.I.E.L.D. was compromised.
For once, we're way ahead of the curve.
By holding a gun to everyone on Earth and calling it protection.
Greatest generation? You guys did some nasty stuff.
But we did it so that people could be free. This isn't freedom. This is fear.
To build a really better world sometimes means having to tear the old one down. And that makes enemies.
What if Pakistan marched into Mumbai tomorrow
And you knew that they were going to drag your daughters into a soccer stadium, and you could just stop it with a flick of the switch. Wouldn't you all?
Not if it was your switch.
Just a matter of time before a dirty bomb goes off in Moscow or an EMP fries Chicago. I can bring order to the lives of 7 billion people by sacrificing 20 million. You have the courage to take it?
No, I have the courage not to.
One of the big frustrations for me is that Cap never gives a fuck about why anybody in S.H.I.E.L.D. is a part of Hydra, why Hydra exists, why everyone's ideology is this way. He's just like, nah, you're the bad guys. I'm gonna beat you.
Hydra stemmed from the Nazis. They're the bad guys. Captain America already understands why Hydra exists.
They almost have what they want. Absolute control. They shot Nick Fury, and it won't end there.
You might say, like, well, does he need to? And it's like, I think if you're going to be trying to broach the subject, you should try and get to know the people who are like, security first, freedom last. It's like, at least talk about it.
He talks about it with Nick Fury.
The film is literally like, freedom's the best, woohoo, let's kill everyone.
Goodbye, sir. I will not even dignify that argument with a response.
He's like, no one should have the helicarriers whatsoever, we blow them up. And now, if you can see, this is where they are. Cap knows this. These motherfuckers could land anywhere. Look how close we are to civilian populations. This is insane. Cap would never do this.
And that's assuming that any of the shots don't miss.
We have them neutralized, we can land them, and he refuses and says, no, blow them up.
If Captain America didn't blow them up when he did, then he loses the battle. He has already been shot several times by Bucky. Bucky is an active threat. All Bucky has to do is reach his location to finish the job and replace the targeting chips again. Furthermore, Captain America made sure that everybody in the area was aware of the sacrifices they'd have to make if they chose to stay and fight with him.
If you launch those helicarriers today, Hydra will be able to kill anyone that stands in their way. And I know I'm asking a lot. The price of freedom is high. It always has been. And it's a price I'm willing to pay. And if I'm the only one, then so be it. But I'm willing to bet I'm not.
He gave them the choice to stand with him and fight for their freedom or to run the other way for their own safety, and the civilians were being evacuated in the process of this. And while blowing up the helicarriers risks the deaths of those who chose to stay and fight, the fact of the matter is that he gave them the choice to begin with. He acknowledges that he is asking a lot and that the price of freedom is high, but he also acknowledges that the price is worth paying to save millions of people from being shot dead.
And it's so funny. This film is like, but Cap, if we blow them up while you're on it, you might not make it. It's like, yeah, he might not make it. All the people who gave their lives to fucking fight for him in the Triskelion might not make it. All the ones that are still alive. All the civilians running around having their day-to-day might not make it. Not a single tear shed for any of them.
How do you know that Hill is hesitating only because of Cap? You just put words in her mouth to criticize her character. The reason she's hesitating is because she doesn't know what situation Cap is in. So for all she knows, there's a chance to land the helicarriers like you just suggested. But the fact of the matter is that Cap is more informed on the situation, and she listens to him insisting that it's absolutely necessary to blow up the helicarriers right now.
And the sad part is, nobody else brings it up. At least if it was just him and everyone else is like, oh, Cap, what are you doing? It's still catastrophic, but having every other character be like, yeah, this is fine. And no, he nearly kills Falcon, and nobody mentions it.
The price of freedom is high. It always has been. And it's a price I'm willing to pay. And if I'm the only one, then so be it. But I'm willing to bet I'm not.
Even though he nearly kills Falcon, we know that he killed innocent people in the Triskelion, people on his side, because there were a lot of target shots in the Triskelion when they were about to fire. That building was not evacuated. And that's, again, it doesn't even matter, because it could have crashed into Washington, D.C. What if they went to the right or to the left where all the buildings are? Look at that collateral damage.
This is inexcusable. This is absurd.
Yeah. Pimpin', your take is inexcusable and absurd.
And it's so fucking funny to watch Cap grandstand Tony in Age of Ultron when he's done this.
Tony tampered with artificial intelligence without telling anyone, based on a vision he had, and was driven by paranoia. Steve had literally no other choice to prevent millions of people from dying. They're not the same. That covers just about all of the points that I made, as well as the ones I borrowed from EFAP without critically thinking enough about it. Is Captain America the Winter Soldier a perfect story? No. There are substantial issues with plot armor and some major inconsistencies to achieve payoffs. However, the movie also has great character writing, an overall exciting and functional plot, and a compelling exploration of its themes. Are instances of plot armor or dumb character decisions worth bringing the score down so low? I don't think so. Solid 8 out of 10. Comment down below if you want more of these self-response videos, or have videos in mind you want me to respond to. That's all I got for now. Goodbye.